So I just thought of doing this one spontaneously after a long time. This idea came to my mind based on a seminar I was conducting recently on Aishwarya Yoga. Aishwarya stands for Samruddhi, prosperity, abundance, having huge availability, a surplus availability of whatever you require, of resources, of conveniences, of safety nets. So, when I was conducting this seminar only 2 days back, this Saturday evening, I remember one participant mentioning or asking or checking with me as to uh, the key aspect that leads to Aishwarya, that leads to abundance and material abundance, so to say. And one of the points that came across was that what you require in order to grow materially is uh, lots of desire to grow. You know, a lot of us are half baked in our desires. We are half hearted in terms of our enthusiasm to grow. And good people and spiritual people tend to have a greater amount of problem with having stronger desires. That's what I wish to cover for you in today's live message. That what is it that actually throws that spanner in the wheel? What creates that hindrance for good and spiritual people uh, to, on one hand, not be insanely prosperous, or on the other hand, in worst case scenarios, not able to pay their bills. So the whole issue lies around this angle of desire. How strongly can you desire to have insane amounts of prosperity, or sufficient amounts of abundance, if not insane amounts? One of the typical uh, teachings, let us say, if not a conditioning, is to be low on desire. I have myself struggled with this, coming from a Jain family, and Jain concepts and Jain teachings being around a parigraha or contentment. You know, the whole Jain spiritual journey is about being low in terms of your requirements and indulgences. So desires is a no-no, and in many spiritual traditions, it is a no-no. But when it comes to material growth on this earth plane, the desire to grow is very important, and people find this conflict, this dichotomy between uh, your spiritual values and then requiring to be desirous of resources. So I have a particular, during the seminar there were actually 3 points that emerged within the context of the moment, which I want to expand upon during this spontaneous live. The first point is that to understand that what are we here for, in order to bridge this gap between desire and no desire. The whole idea is that spiritual people should be capable of paying their bills to begin with and live sufficiently abundantly, and then perhaps if it calls to you, then insanely prosperously. You need to bridge this gap and be able to desire. How is that possible? First comes from the context. The basic context many people have is that they are on this earth plane so that they can use the human body to basically empower their journey towards moksha, which essentially stands for freedom from this cycle of birth and death. So the basic context is that we are here on the earth plane to essentially escape from this whole process or this whole cycle of birth and death, which is a cycle of suffering in many ways. However, There is this another context that I propose to you, which my first master, Guruji Rishi Prabhakar, would often talk about, which is the context of enjoying the gift of life. You know, what if you were here not so that you can fabricate or create a pathway towards your moksha, but you are here so that you can enjoy the gift of life itself. In order to enjoy the gift of life, you have got to play in the playground of life, which is possible only through the instrument of desire. So if life is not about going beyond birth and death, but it is about, or if life is not about necessarily enlightenment, and if life is about enjoying our stay over here, then desire is an important tool in the kitty, because desire makes possible the whole game of life, the leela of life, so to say. That being my first point, that in order to bridge this conflict, internal conflict, where the spiritual values require you to go beyond desires and the material abundance lies in being able to desire deeply, the first point is to understand this context, that life is about enjoying the gift of life and not about escaping the whole trap of birth and death. Now, the second point is, it is not that I am exhorting you, or abundance requires you to be desirous and bring these desires out of nowhere. No, everybody is desirous. Desires exist in seed form within us. These are called the seed tendencies. A simpler word would be karma sanskara. A more technical word would be vasanas. Each of us are born on this earth plane because we have the vasana, we have the karma sanskara to experience life in a particular form. And then we do the same through engaging with life through our desires. So it is not that in order to become prosperous, we require to bring desires out of anywhere. No, each of us have desires. We just simply have to wear them on our sleeve more authentically. The problem with this dichotomy is that as spiritual people, we feel that we should reach a desireless state, whereas the fact is that even when you seek a desireless state, you are seeking, it is a desire, right? So we cannot necessarily escape desire. So what is the way to solve this? Is to actually be more authentic about your desire, is to know that the desire exists in seed form. you know Instead of pursuing, let us say, aparigraha, you pursue honest abundance. Instead of pursuing ek roti ek langoti ram nam, you pursue a lifestyle where you make enough to have not just a roti but pasta, and not just a langoti but a wonderful suit, and obviously have Ramnam even with pasta and a wonderful suit, right? So that context of life where you allow your desires to move from seed form and wear them on the sleeve and are more authentic about them, and do not call the desirous people any names, do not call greedy people as filthy, not call ambitious people as those who have lost their values. Not call names, and allow yourself to be more authentic about what exists in the seed form, where the same seed tendency or karma sanskara or vasana beach more openly, that yes, even I want to be a millionaire, or even I want to have a car, or have a fancy car, or go on an exotic holiday thrice a year. That will allow the quest for prosperity, that will allow Aishwarya to visit you, that will allow Samruddhi to actually be to come over and occupy your life more passionately. So this being the second point, and the third point is something which I have seen Osho mention often, which one of his operating principles which I resonate with is the way to transcend any desire, or vasana, or karma sanskara, is to outlive it. So how do you outlive something? By having it. As long as you have a scooter and you are jealous of people or envious of people who have a car, the best way to go beyond is not to necessarily go towards a parigraha, but to do what needs to be done to own a car. When you own a car, you realize that car was perhaps not as big a deal as it was in your head. Or owning a car need not necessarily be as pleasurable an experience as it seemed when it was an idea in the head. So the way to transcend the desire trap is to live the desire trap, is to outlive the desire trap by living it out, by living it large and having whatever it is that you want to have, but that desire exists in the seed form. So, to sum it up, essentially three aspects. One is that we are here to enjoy the gift of life and not to escape the birth and death trap and the rebirth trap. So, we might as well enjoy the gift of life by becoming desirous. Second, our desires exist in seed form. We should be more honest and wear them on the sleeve. And third, it's perfectly okay to have desires and to live them out so that you can go beyond them. Once you have these three tools in your kitty, even if you are a spiritual person, there won't be any more dichotomies or inner conflicts. You use these three contexts to allow material abundance in your life, which is so, so important. And one of my purposes in life is to help people live full spectrum, which is dissolve all these conflicts that spiritual people have, so that they can live a life which is more full spectrum, more full throttle, more multidimensional, and help them manifest abundance. This, if this idea or anything that I mentioned resonates with you, you can also go to my YouTube channel and seek out for similar videos. And if you want a deep dive into this topic, you can get in touch with the team and get yourself a recording of the previous seminar. I intend to initiate this whole process of doing more and more frequent lives on YouTube as well as Instagram. And if you have any suggestions on the topics that you would like me to speak about, feel free to send that in. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.